Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers. I thank everybody that's involved with this process because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers.
Experience is not about the publisher, it is about us, the authors.
There we go.
Okay, looks like we're on, huh?
Okay, well,
okay. Well, welcome to today. My name is Carl Johnoff. My pen name is Kurt Niemann. I, with the help of my wife here, who is long-suffering and supportive and very, very wonderful, we wrote this book, Badge 411. It's based on the experiences of a real probation officer who happens to be me. And why am I saying based on? It's because names and places have been changed in every one of the 80-odd stories in this book to protect the innocent being me. I don't like being sued, so I don't put out real names and real places and whatnot. If you buy my book, especially if you know where I'm really from, you're going to say, hey, that's I never heard of that city. Good, because that's how I intended the stories to go. Okay, we were hit with all kinds of questions and whatnot as time has gone by over the last week. And I think where I finished off yesterday was talking about one of the most important things in the justice system. Matter of fact, it's one of the most important things in any corporation or government agency: budget. It's Ethan Lee says, good day, lovely couple. Well, thank you. It's day 9 and you're happy to be here. Great. I'm happy to see you're here, Ethan. Where I think I left off yesterday was talking about how expensive residential treatment centers can be. And well, the entire issues around treatment for juveniles, whether they're incorrigible or called status offenders, or delinquent, which is criminal offenses done by someone under the age of 18 in Arizona. When I left the streets, when I left my field caseloads, our budget for residential placements was generally used up within the first 6 months of every fiscal year. It's just very, very expensive to get into residential treatments, hospitalizations, very, very expensive. And consequently, we've run out of money in the first 6 months. Where are we going to get the money? Where are we going to be placed? Are we going to be able to continue to do placements? Well, what are the alternatives? And it really can get tough. Want to talk a little bit about juvenile delinquency and incorrigibility, and whose fault is it? Please try to get away from fault finding. Most all the people that I've talked to who don't know anything about the juvenile justice system will say, well, it's the parents' fault. And what I've learned, not only as a probation officer, but as a parent myself, is that there are two kinds of parents. There are parents who say, boy, that raising children is a real challenge, really difficult, and we haven't always done what we wish we had could have done. The other set says, oh, no trouble at all raising kids. All our kids are perfect, and they're lying to you. Okay, it is the way it is. And if you buy my book, and I hope you do, you'll discover that, yep, even I, Captain Compassion, the probation officer, had some problems raising kids as well as with kids. So that when no family is immune from the juvenile justice system either. There are so many outside influences on your child, ranging from school to church to the neighborhood. And I talked about this a few times, I think. One of the difficulties, one of the real challenges we run across when a child is finished residential placement or commitment to the Department of Corrections or detention is going back to the same neighborhood, going back to the same influences. Have we prepared the kid for that? What is the kid going to do? What I always hoped that I was able to implant in the juvenile's mind, both on the streets and in a detention facility, is plan. When you have a goal, when you have an intent to do some kind of behavior or not to do some kind of behavior, what are your expectations as to what the results will be? What are your expectations around the consequences? So that if you shoplift, what can the consequences be? Someone opined just a little bit ago that since it's juvenile, must be just shoplifting and whatnot. Nope. It starts with problems in the home, problems in the neighborhood, gets into shoplifting, auto theft, homicide. The juvenile justice system covers everything. And most all of us that have been in this career has seen about everything. No family is immune, I promise you. One of the stories I write about is a situation where the child is not accused of a criminal offense, a delinquency, but a status offense, that is incorrigibility. They just could not handle their child. And one of them was a psychiatrist and the other was an attorney. And they're very wealthy, and yet their child was out of control. How did that happen? Oh my. Buy the book. There are, and you're going to find this at work and in your own home and in everybody else's home, there are games that some people play. I want to refer you to one of my favorite authors, a psychiatrist named Eric Berne, ERIC, capital BERNE. Back in 1972, and yes, I understand that's the ancient world, he wrote a book. He wrote a bunch of books that I've read, but the one that is my absolute favorite is called Games People Play. And it's the first third of the book goes through various psychological theories and whatnot, but the last two thirds are about the games, and families can play the games where both parents and a child play different roles. There's the rescuer, the prosecutor, there's the victim. It really gets complex, and the role of rescuer or prosecutor or victim can shift from time to time. So you never know. So that when a parent or some agency brings a child in as an unmanageable child, an incorrigible child, and they are wanting a cure, these games are some of the things we need to deal with. But what again is the agency's goal or the parent's goal? Well, cure the kid. Well, that can't be very, as a matter of fact, dealing with status offenses can be far more difficult than dealing with criminal or delinquency offenses. So much so that our chief, who was chief during most of the time that I was a probation officer, sensed that in order to be able to really provide services for these families, he needed to create a separate unit within the department, one that deals strictly with status offenses, incorrigibility, runaway, and the other units would deal with the delinquency. And sometimes those caseloads would vary as much as 4-to-1. That is, 4 delinquency cases for every 1 incorrigible or status case run by a probation officer in the status offenses unit. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. And if you're going to be a probation officer, or you're going to in any way work with families, my first warning to you would be honest, be open and honest, so that whenever, when I was part of the status offensive unit, the first questions I would ask the parents is the same that I asked the kid. What are your goals here? What do you want? And 9 times out of 10, it was, can you take away the kid and fix them up, cure them, and then give them back to us? That kind of thing. And not all parents are incorrigible. Not all parents are offenders themselves. They're just ordinary people who are met with a Wayne says, great strategy. You have a sensitive job, so it's understandable. Well, thank you. It was always a challenge. It's a challenge that I totally loved. But let me tell you, you do not want to be caught up in the games that are being played by the people who are being accused of offenses. Be open, be honest, let people know whether you're working actually with a juvenile or adult, let them know what the parameters are, what the options are, and just be upfront with it and be straight arrow. And a lot of times when you say, well, we can't do that, we can offer this, and it isn't what they expected, they're going to get upset with you. Be accustomed to some customers can't be satisfied. Okay.
Evenly.
Oh, Ethan says, I agree. If our goal is to save juveniles, we must not place them back in an environment that will influence them to go back to petty crimes. And that's absolutely true. But what if in most cases, that is your only option. Now, with some juveniles, they're just in a residential placement or hospitalized or whatever until their 18th birthday, at which time they're set free. What our job is there is to help them set themselves up in a new and different environment. And that in itself can be a challenge. And again, we're talking about money. That can really be, it can really be expensive to do this. What other questions have I missed here?
There's another one here, Carl.
Oh, Nicole says, my mom is always the prosecutor and my dad is the rescuer. There's somebody who, Nicole, you understand the games. Yeah. And, to an observer, an outside observer, depending on how serious the game can get, and it can get very serious, you might just shake your head and say, oh my gosh, I don't want to be around that. Or you can be laughing. But the thing is, to the people playing the games, let me assure you that they have an awareness that they are indeed playing a game. They're trying to avoid dealing with the problems that are happening all the time. Very much the same, in particularly in incorrigibility cases, a lot of times the families are the very families that we call the Friday night Smiths or the Saturday night Smiths. They call into the police and it's a domestic disturbance or a domestic violence case. It can get very, very dangerous. And let me tell you, anyone who has done police patrol or any of these jobs that deal with families will tell you that responding to a domestic violence call can be one of the most dangerous kinds of things that a police officer or a probation officer or parole officer can face, because they're gaming each other. They're creating really potentially dangerous, potentially deadly crises, and at the same time they're hoping that, or they're wishing that, when I call the police are going to come in here and resolve the situation. But they're not going to resolve the situation simply by coming in and waving a magic wand. There may be a need to remove somebody from the family at that time. And in the cases, in many of the cases that I've handled, particularly the incorrigibility cases, the person who was determined to be the family offender was the child. It's easier to get the kid detained. And then, of course, the husband and wife are still at each other's throats. I've seen cases where when the police are about to take away the child or take away the husband, the wife gets very, very angry at the cops and have been known to go for the cop's gun. JP says, how does the concept of restorative justice contribute to the rehabilitation of both offenders and victims? Restorative. That is the concept is good. Boy, when you bring in the victims too, particularly in the cases of delinquency, sometimes some of the offenses that the kid commits can end up very, very expensive. The kid totals your Mercedes-Benz, or sets fire to the home, or steals the family jewelry and disposes of it one way or another. And now the court's going to talk about restitution. Well, no insurance, no money, unemployed members of the family. Maybe the only employment may be in gangs. How can a judge order $25,000 restitution on the child and on the parents? And yeah, the parents can be that can be an approach. But what if they just don't have it? Well, many states, Arizona included, has a budget of sorts for that, where victims can be restored to some degree. But even if you were restored to a full degree, you're never going to be fully restored if you've been a victim. For example, rape. How do you restore the victim of a rape? How does a kid who wakes up in the middle of the night and there's a stranger in the bedroom and there's some groping and intercourse going on, how do you restore that? That kid's going to be living with that for the rest of their life, or the adult if it's an adult being raped. Residential burglary. Residential burglary is very much akin to a rape. Your home is your safe place, and it's been violated. It's been entered, and you've been stolen from, and your home has been destroyed in some way or another. How does that get restored? Money? Money doesn't resolve all the problems. It can help you along, but what if the money isn't even there? So what do we do about victims? That is a whole nother case. This is one of the things that I'm hoping I'm going to be able to do is get my book introduced to colleges and universities that teach criminal justice classes, so that my firsthand knowledge in the various areas of criminal justice can be seen, can be read. As I said, there's some 80 odd stories in there. They're all a page and a half, maybe 2 pages long, but they get the point across, I hope. This is a very challenging, for me, it was very interesting, a very wonderful career, but it's not wonderful if you're a victim. It's not wonderful if you're a parent of a child who is about to go. I have seen 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, because that's what they really are in terms of members of the community, be handled as adults and get 25 to life. How do you handle that as a parent? If you assume for a moment you're a parent that really had no idea what was going on, and you yourself were totally honest, totally open, and your kid has just been given 25 to life. How do you handle that? Where's the restitution for that? It can be sad. Okay, well, I've got a note here. You're going to find this story in my book as well. There was a juvenile who was notorious in his neighborhood for being a thief and being a drugger. And as a matter of fact, he did a little juvenile time for possession. And every patrol officer in the neighborhood knew who the kid was. So here is the kid this one night, and he's leaving a store and he's got a bag. And a couple of the officers see him and say, aha, we have him again. And so they jump out of their vehicle and they're calling his name and they're running after him, and the kid runs. And the kid is reaching into the bag and he's grabbing stuff and trying to eat it and trying to swallow it. And they grab him and they wrestle him down and they cuff him and they scrape stuff out of his mouth and they take him to detention. And it so happened he was on my caseload and I was there at the detention facility at the time. And I said, "What is going on with you, man?" He says, "Hey, it was mint tea. Honest to God, it was mint tea." And I said, "Oh, geez, we've been through this before. Don't give me the mint tea shtick." And he said, "No, wait, really, it was." Well, the stuff was sent to forensics, and believe it or not, it really was mint tea. Why did the kid react the way he did? Because he was so accustomed to being chased down and caught with the bad stuff. These things happen. Okay, what other kinds of questions do I have here? Here's this. I've tried everything and nothing works. You've tried everything that people have advised you. You've tried everything you could think of, and you just don't know where to go from there. That's where people like me or someone in Child Protective Services or somewhere hopefully can step in and provide services for you. Foster homes. I've seen some youngsters on my caseload go to foster homes. There's good and there's bad in that, and you just never know. There are residential treatment centers that I would absolutely send my troubled child to. Absolutely. Really great people, really work on the kid, really can promote change. And I've seen some that I wouldn't send my dog to. Experience is a major thing. Again, that's why I'm hoping that the people who really need to know, or the people who want to know what goes on in the juvenile justice system, will buy this book and read it and develop an understanding, and I hope enjoy the book. I certainly enjoyed writing it, although she probably didn't enjoy typing it.
Well, I have to say, I was either, as I've said, several days ago, I was either laughing, crying, or going, "How in the world did you get into that situation?" But no, it's a very, very entertaining, educational book, and I am with Carl / Kurt that it needs to be in all training schools to give people examples, real examples of what goes on. I mean, I had no idea until I met Carl, and we only think we do. So people that are going into it, if professors will just open our minds and accept this book as an education tool, students need to read it. They need to read it and be educated.
Please, no matter what you do or don't do, remember that no one walks on water.
Okay. Ethan Lee.
Ethan Lee says, "But Carl, my family, my mom is a good cop, my dad is a bad cop." Yeah, and sometimes they switch it up, right back to Eric Byrne again, games people play. Truly, probation officers, no easy job. It's part being an authority, part guardian, part mentor, and part parent, and all at once. Cheers to you and your career. Man, you've got it. You absolutely got it. And hopefully when I decide to choose a role, I'm choosing the correct role for the case. Have I messed up? Oh, yeah, I really have. Have I had successes? I've seen real successes, but again, in the cases of offenders, be they status offenders or delinquent, in the cases of them making good decisions.
Okay, you're on your last one here, and then we have to close. from Wayne Dixon.
Money is always the issue. Being an offender is expensive, so it's important to guide our kids to be. Yeah, it really is, and it doesn't just come from parents. It comes from all the rest of us in law enforcement, in schools, everything that the child meets and has to face in life.
It takes a village to raise our children.
It really does, and
we have to say goodbye, I think.
oh my gosh, is it time? You know, I get so caught up in this and that and this and that. I hope that I'm making sense to you folks out there. If I'm not, let me invite you to read my book, and then maybe it'll make more sense. Thank you so much for watching.
And we'll be back tomorrow.
And we will be back tomorrow.